Today's guest is Brian Knox, a construction photographer. All right, Brian, thank you. Thank you for coming on the show.
You bet. Thanks for having me, Tats.
Awesome. It's good. I haven't had someone on sort of the photography, sort of, the branding side in a bit. So it'd be nice to talk about this. But your
Yeah,
background, has been in and around trades and construction and stuff like that for a while.
that's right.
And, and,
Yeah.
and is photography something that you've always done, or is it just something that you just kind of like it just fell into?
Well, I was always into art through high school and not so much in college, but I was always into art, composition, color theory, trying to make things look good. And I got a digital camera in 2004. So 2004 is kind of when it all started. I was a youngster, probably 21 or something at the time. But yeah, I started getting into photography and loved shooting with that digital camera right away. And would just go off on little photo shoots after work. And man, I was in love with it pretty much from the get go in 2004 when I got that first little tiny digital camera.
Nice, awesome. And your background in sort of construction and trades is, it looks like, so administration, customer support, maybe some sales related stuff. Is that kind of
Yeah.
sum it up?
Yeah, absolutely. No, that sums it up well. Most of my roles before I went out as a photographer were in customer service or sales, like an inside sales role to some degree.
Yeah. And for you, doing photography within, construction and trades,
Yeah.
I mean, obviously that's a specialization. What was that sort of deliberate? Like, did you really focus on it in the beginning, or do you just get funneled into it just because you kind of knew people in the area? Like, how did it develop?
Well, what's crazy is I did always want to do it. I always wanted to photograph construction, and I remember from when I got that first small camera back in 2004 that one of the first things I drove by was, I think it was residential construction, and I could see the studs going up and see like light coming through it. And I had just gotten that camera, and I was like, oh, I didn't have it with me, but I was like, I wish I had it with me. I want to shoot that. And then we bumped into someone later that day, and he was like, well, what do you think you want to take pictures of? And I was like, construction. And that would have been like 2004. But that didn't ever really materialize until later on. Like the construction piece didn't come probably till 2021 or 22, somewhere in there. But I was always interested in more of like the dirty jobs, anything related to industry, blue collar work. I did some work in the trades for Corley Plumbing, and so I was taking a lot of photos of plumbers and electricians and HVAC.
Yeah.
And then I was at Habitat for Humanity, so I was photographing residential construction. But yeah, I always dreamed of shooting like large steel structures as they're being built, and had this image in my mind of, Greenville. We don't really have skyscrapers, but we have some nice buildings. And I could always see myself in those buildings, as they're being constructed, but being there as the photographer. And it was a dream for a long time. So it feels crazy to be living it, really.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
If you go to your LinkedIn profile, you have kind of like a top-down view on a bunch of construction equipment.
Yes.
It's not necessarily the way that you'd film it. I like that header on your LinkedIn profile. I mean, people listen to it, go check it out. But
Thanks.
how much of it was just, with photography, following your curiosity? How much of it is just trying to be different, or just looking at it in a way that maybe other companies or organizations isn't presenting construction?
Hmm. Um, I'm always drawn to the people in the construction and to the trades folks, and just the human element. I do love big iron and telehandlers and stuff like that. Like they very much excite me, but I've just always been drawn to the work of people's hands and um, sort of the collective um, movement towards productivity or construction. I can remember at one time at Habitat for Humanity, I was actually working on a Habitat home, and I was down inside, and they had like the roofing crew up on the roof. And Habitat doesn't use any pneumatic nailers just for safety, so it's all hammers and nails. And I just remember the sound of like 15 hammers being, hammering in roofing at the same time, and it was like music to my ears. So I was like down in the house and just like, man, this sounds amazing. So I'm quite captivated by construction and just people coming together, architect, the construction companies, the trades, all that stuff just really excites me.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Yeah, the human element, I've actually heard that before. Like a lot of, you know, let's say construction websites are filled
Yeah.
with structures, and
Yes.
the recruiting is such a big aspect, or connecting the people aspect to it. So that's what you're referring to.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. And I, for the longest time, I only viewed my photography through the lens of helping general contractors get more business and get more projects and showing off their pretty buildings and stuff like that. But um, I'm realizing how big of an issue recruitment is and attracting talent. And I do see a lot of my images on there. We're hiring stuff, for some of the GCs around town. And I love that. And if I can show that a company has a friendly culture or, something admirable about its culture, whether it's events or something that it does, I love to do that because I think as they hire and as they grow, I think growth and productivity brings us all up.
Yeah. So, I mean, having a design background and photography background, for us, we're part of the roofing industry, so we're always noticing roofs. For
Yeah.
you, you're probably noticing, on people's websites or social media platforms how they use the images or what type of images they take. I mean, what are the things you like? What do you think, like tips for companies to stay away from?
Great question. A great first tip is just to zoom in, especially if you're on your phone. When your phone comes up, it's going to be on a very wide angle. You know what I mean? So, especially if you're focused on a person or on the action that they're doing, just like zoom in on the phone. That's automatically going to take a better picture. Um, so I see a lot of like very wide shots where the company or the person just held up the phone and grabbed it. So just being a little bit more intentional about focusing on what you want to focus on. And a lot of people don't know to tap, where they want to focus on the phone, and their exposure will be all out of whack. Like it might be very bright behind them, and then the person will be dark. And I'll just say like, "Hey, tap on their face on the phone." And when you tap on the face on the phone, then it brings that person brightness and makes the photo look good.
Yeah.
So just simple stuff like that.
Yeah,
Um,
you mentioned like zoom in on the phone, but do you like, I guess if you kind of spread your fingers out, you're digitally coming in, right? So if you could safely get closer
yes,
to the thing, that's probably preferred.
absolutely. Yeah, zoom with your feet if you can. Like walk up. You're right. On a phone, especially, it gets harder to hold, and the quality goes down the more you digitally zoom. You're right. That is a challenge.
Yeah, because I know like with case studies, we always, sometimes sites aren't accessible, or there's scheduling things where we just can't get someone
Yes.
on a roof and stuff like that, or safely or timely. And we try to create like a tip sheet or something like that, and stuff like that. But it's always better to have someone professional that kind of understands the
Yeah.
industry, that can navigate, not get in the way, but could navigate that.
Yeah, and such a big part of that is that professional just having the tools, right? And having the gear, having a long lens that you can zoom in from, behind the fence or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And that's just a big part of being a professional in business is I've got too much invested in lenses. Probably I have a lens buying addiction, but basically you're hiring a guy that has the tools to either send a drone over if needed or zoom in from a long way away if needed. So I'm always here for that. That's the gear makes it the camera gear is quite a step up from a phone. Phones can do a lot, but they have their weaknesses. They also have their strengths, and we always have them with us, so they're great in that regard. But
Yeah. Give me like, hey, what's your like, go-to setup or base setup of what you have? And walk me through like what a mid-end setup could look like, and tell me what like a personal phone plus, a few things you should carry on kit should look like.
ooh, so well, I mean, for a top of the line setup, it's a lot of thousands, Tats.
Like $1,000 lens, right?
Yeah, I mean the camera bodies, which is not the lens, but just the body, they're 4,000. I shoot Sony. Sony is my favorite. Um, and then all lenses are 2,000 bucks or 3,000 bucks. Like it's just if you're getting a pro lens, it's 2 grand right out of the gate. So man, I love to shoot on prime lenses. I shoot Sony bodies, prime lenses, which means there's no zoom in the lens. I just have to move. I love that organicness and that kind of rusticness of it that I have to go towards the action, like you were mentioning. And so I try to shoot on focal lengths that someone's phone, it's not going to look like someone's phone. So that phone focal length is roughly probably 35 millimeters, 30 millimeters, somewhere in there. So I like to shoot on like a 24 millimeter prime lens, 85 millimeter, 135 millimeter prime lens. Yeah, so I'm trying to shoot on focal lengths that just look different than what a person's capturing on their phone out there.
That
As
makes
far
sense.
as, yeah, to get into photography, it's like, it's one of those things where you probably need like $1,000 or something to kind of get a mid-range setup. Um, Otherwise, phones are so good. It's just their primary limitation is just what you mentioned, which is that you can't zoom into the action. You also can't capture fast action on a phone because the shutter speed doesn't go fast enough. So lots of blur. They're not good in dark areas. If the electrical's not been done yet, like a phone's going to really struggle.
Yeah. So depending on the industry or the type of jobs that you work on or the people that you're trying to get in the natural environment, basically like you said, darkness, if there's things moving around, if you need to get tighter in or
Yeah.
safely tighter in, but
Yes.
the ability to change the lenses. You talked about the lens being trying to differentiate from the focal length that a phone is, so
Yeah.
that when people look at the image, it just I guess people are drawn in because it kind of looks different. They can't put their finger on it, but it just holds that attention a split second longer.
Yeah, and the other thing I'm doing is just incorporating the classic rules of composition. I'm a big composition nerd. And if you just look into things like the rule of thirds, the golden ratio, the Fibonacci spiral, stuff like this, you'll see that all good art is pulling from some fundamentals of composition. And to me, I love that mix of, everything I shoot is going to end up in the rule of thirds or the golden ratio in some way because that's pleasing to our eyes. But then what's actually in that scene is changing no matter what whether it's a building or a person grinding or welding or whatever it is. I can still do my composition with them as the subject. And so that's kind of what I think can help set a professional photographer apart is understanding rules of composition, understanding things like texture, color, repeating patterns. You got to know a little bit about lighting, stuff like that. And so I just like the daily chase of, the weather's always different, the light's always different, the job site's different every time you go back, but still trying to like create art out of what's there.
Got it. Okay. So let's go your average phone setup, right?
Okay.
Let's say a phone that's less than 2 years old, maybe 3 years old range. What um, what things software could you have on there? What sort of tips, on how to hold it or anything that
Yeah.
would lead to like a better result when they hand those photos over to the marketing department.
Sure. If you're photographing people, put your camera up high. Everybody that's taking a selfie knows this and does that. That's good. We don't photograph double chins. We don't want that. Don't shoot everybody's double chin. It's not a good
No,
look.
no low to high. No low to
No, shoot. Put that camera high, and then another easy one, Tats, is the horizon line. Like try to hold your phone straight. Try not to. People just kind of come up like this and snap the pic. Well, like take a second to straighten your horizon line. Those are two easy ones that I see that people violate. They just hold it down here at their chest or whatever, and they shoot crooked. So shoot from above, get the horizon line straight. Um, Try not to put people in bright sunlight. Nobody likes bright sunlight. Nobody likes to be squinting unless they're in a sunglasses ad or something like that,
Yeah, for sure. And then, how do you approach, I mean, as a photographer, I think, I've seen people just being really good with interacting with people. Obviously, I mean, when you go to a job site, um, you know, you have to make sure people are comfortable because not everyone's comfortable with that. How do you gauge that? What's the like call it the emotional intelligence around, going onto a job site, taking photos, not disrupting and all that stuff.
Oh, that's a big question. And I think you are hitting on the biggest challenge of construction photography when shooting for general contractors and subcontractors. And that's that when you go on site, everybody thinks you're the safety guy. Right away, you got a camera. I've thought about having my safety vest say like not OSHA or not safety or something. Um, but yeah, you there is an element of you have to gain those people's trust that they know you're not there to report them to their boss because they didn't have eye protection or whatever. I know some of that stuff, but like I'm never on site to catch anybody. I'm there to make them look good. And I will typically tell them that. Sometimes when there's a language barrier, I have like a little business card that I'll give that says, "Hey, I'm just here to make you look great. I'm not here for safety violations or whatever." Um, and then I use a lens that lets me be far enough away that a lot of times I can sort of sneak shots or snipe people or whatever. But then if they turn and catch you doing that, then you've kind of broken trust. So there's two ways to approach it. The one is to like make sure they see you and wave at them and smile and try to show that you're not the OSHA guy. I probably shouldn't be smashing on OSHA so much, but show that you're a content creator. Um, you want to make sure they know that you're there to make them look good. And sometimes just how I hold the camera, like I'll hold it down low like a videographer, or just kind of make it clear that I'm making artistic shots and I'm not out there with a clipboard, trying to catch somebody doing the wrong thing. I'm really there to make them look like a hero, to be honest.
Yeah, yeah. Makes sense. It looks like a little bit of like, yeah, learning and situational, but
Yeah,
obviously like, looking at it from a people's point of view. I mean, safety is the most important thing, but it's a
true.
separate function and you're there for a different function and you don't want to, you don't want to sort of affect if you're trying to create the sense of people, the feel of what the job site is, you don't want to interrupt them.
Yes. Yeah, there's a couple of big offenders that have caused my photos to get thrown away, which is like people don't wear gloves,
Yeah.
they won't wear eye protection. Ladder safety is a big one. I've had some ladder photos tossed out just because people weren't using the ladders right. I know not to shoot concrete dust anytime I see concrete dust flying around. So you kind of learn what to shoot and what not to shoot. And then what I do is I do run all of my photos before I post them or share them. I run them by the company and say, hey, will you do a safety check on this? Just make sure the railings, your railings look good, the ladders look good, that he shouldn't have any eye protection on, whatever it is, and let
Yeah.
their safety
Walk
manager.
me through that company one because if you're a photographer, you kind of know things. You're not
Yeah,
the safety inspector, but
yes,
if you see some
yes,
things,
yes.
what do you do?
Um, like I will, I don't really tell anybody. I just don't shoot the picture. Um, you know,
That's
um,
a tough place to be.
yeah, not my place to like tell them to put on a mask or anything like that. So now sometimes if they want to be in the photo and they don't have gloves on and they're handling metal or something, I'll say, hey, will you throw on your gloves so that we can use these photos and get you on the web or whatever,
Yeah.
something like that. But yeah, I just usually send everything through to a safety manager because I want to share the photos also. Like it benefits us all to share
Yeah.
and share the names that you're working with and stuff like that. But I don't ever want to post a top 20 general contractor in the nation with some glaring social or some glaring safety issue. So I just run them by, just email my contact and hey, check these out before I post them.
That makes sense though, because by sending it to the safety manager, they've already they see it, right?
Yeah.
You become another set of eyes, for
Yes.
them, and you're also learning as you go, right? Because
Yeah.
different
True.
work sites have different standards and stuff like that. So
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not as simple as just showing up, right? You gotta
No. You gotta have work boots on too, man. It's muddy out there sometimes.
yeah, for sure. Okay. Um, what other things should you know about? I mean, obviously, I always like to think of both sides because you're collaborating with a photographer. There's things you do, but what could the company do to make the end result better? Like, if you were going into client, a good client does this, right? They provide me access, or they do this or that. What does that list look like in terms of like
Great question.
collaboration?
One of the first things I do is if the drone's going up, I try to make a practice to go to the job trailer and say, "Hey, I'm about to put a drone up over your job site." If the general contractor or the trades company can do that ahead of time, that's tremendous. Just say to the superintendent, "Hey, you're going to see a bald guy out there in 30 minutes, and he's flying a drone." Like that's Brian. Um, when I do, I always wear my safety vest and stuff so that I look official, um, to try to quell some of the questions. But yeah, just letting people know on site. I've even heard from the construction trailer, they'll sometimes radio the people working dump trucks or working excavators and say, "Hey, you're going to have a man on the ground. Look out for him." Um, Pretty much that and the PPE, man. If they'll just have their PPE on, it's it's pretty easy at that point.
Yeah, for sure. Okay. I mean, is there anything else I haven't asked you about what you do that we should cover?
Um, Man, I'm just grateful again, like I said at the beginning, it really is kind of a dream come true. And I would encourage anyone that wants to try to go into photography or just any other space that it is a climb up. And so, you start out with the local construction firms and then you get a slightly bigger one and then a slightly bigger one. And to me, that's kind of the fun and the chase of it is just to try to level up each time and make those connections on LinkedIn. It's really not always about who's the best photographer per se, but how easy you are to work with as a business owner and how well you network. And I just have like such a passion for business in general and especially for construction and productivity that I love that so much. And then I can just kind of imbue my photography with that. Um, and so I'm excited about going out there and doing it, and I would encourage people that you can make it. You just talk to lots of people and share why you're passionate about what you're doing and show your work. A lot of people don't show off their work, but just show your work and slow and steady, and you can build a business creating in this construction industry.
Sure. So someone that's in the construction industry, they want to explore another aspect of it, their dream. It might not be photography, it could be
Yeah.
something else. And when you were talking about that, I was curious, what was your transition like? It looked like, you were starting small on the side and it grew to a
Yes.
certain point. At what point do you say, hey, now it's time to jump 100% in?
Yeah, great question. I started to side hustle really productively. Like I had a W-2 day job in it was 2018. I was working for Habitat. I started side hustling and picking up a lot of photography gigs. And eventually the side hustle started to cramp my day job. And I was about to turn 40. I was coming up on that 40, like that midlife turn, and I just started to get so much feedback of people that appreciated the photo or appreciated how they looked in it or felt empowered by the photo that I really started to think like this might be where I'm supposed to contribute is through photography, not through inside sales. And so then it was a process of studying all I could about entrepreneurship, speaking to those around me, speaking with my family members, and really having the guts to go for it. And one thing that really helped me was just remembering that most decisions are reversible. So I loved my job at Habitat. It was the best job I ever had, best boss I ever had. And I was like, man, if I go out on my own and I fail, the stakes are really high because like they'll replace me. Habitat will replace me tomorrow, and I won't be able to get this job back. Um, but by and large, once you go out and try entrepreneurship, it's reversible. If you hate it, if you struggle with it, if the economy causes an issue at the time that you went full time as a business owner, there's always roles as an employee. And what you learn as an employee can really help you as a business owner.
Yeah, for sure. So if you're taking the attitude, that going out and doing something, you're personally improving yourself in every area,
Yeah,
then in theory, there's something there for you if you're taking that attitude of continually improving yourself.
absolutely.